The United Kingdom will become a drone factory for Ukraine. Thousands of killer Shaheds are ready to defend the Ukrainian sky. Zelensky personally showcased the superweapon, but is keeping its specifications secret. A sensation, France is preparing troops for Ukraine by 2026. The Balkans have joined the war against Russia. Aircraft and weapons for Ukraine are already on the way. Italy is secretly arming the Ukrainian armed forces. The deliveries are classified as top secret. A powerful coalition of allies is ready to strike the aggressor. I'll share all the details in just a moment. Greetings. This is Ukraine Today. I am Victoria Panchenko, bringing you the latest events. A large-scale technology exchange with a plant in Britain, thousands of interceptors, and a new chapter in defense partnership. The United Kingdom is launching mass production of Ukrainian anti-aircraft drones, and all of this is part of the powerful Octopus program. In a few weeks, British factories will begin churning out interceptors. Created jointly with Kyiv, Ukraine shares its technology, Britain scales up production, and promises to deliver thousands of drones every month to protect Ukrainian skies.
Our Ukrainian friends will share their technology and intellectual property with the United Kingdom, and in turn, we will further develop and mass-produce them to supply Ukraine with thousands of interceptor drones every month.
Notably, the initial tests will be conducted by Ukrainian military personnel, which means that from the British factories, the Iron Birds will head straight to the front lines. If the drones pass, so to speak, their trial by fire, production will be ramped up to full scale, and later, assembly will also be launched in Ukraine itself. These machines are already being called Shahed killers and are forming the backbone of the European drone wall. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky even showed an image of the new anti-aircraft drone, but its specifications are still being kept secret.
I thank Keir Starmer and the people of the United Kingdom for their continued support of our country in the fight against Russian aggression. Today, I discussed with the Prime Minister the development of defense cooperation and opportunities to increase pressure on Russia. I demonstrated the Ukrainian interceptor drone, Octopus, which the United Kingdom will produce for further testing in Ukraine. The agreement provides for the production of the first batch.
Foreign partners will supply Ukraine with critically needed military weapons. And France is even ready to send its troops to our country as early as 2026. The coalition of Ukraine's friends is coming to the forefront. Foreign allies are preparing powerful support for Kyiv. France and its partners are preparing a strike against the aggressor. Who will arm Ukraine and with what? Exclusive details.
The time has come. France is ready to deploy troops for Ukraine in 2026. This was stated by the Chief of Staff of the French Army, Pierre Schill. The statement about troop deployment came after the French military leadership has warned of the need to be ready for a confrontation with Russia in 3 to 4 years. Also, as early as next year, the Orion 26 exercises will be held to test the effectiveness of cooperation between different branches of the military, allies, and ministries.
It should be remembered that France and Emmanuel Macron, they were the initiators of the idea of a foreign military presence in Ukraine. Yes, they did not receive full support from their allies, not even within the European Union. Accordingly, they were forced to back down from this idea. Plus, during the Biden administration, the United States said, "We can't be at odds with Europe, but we don't want to be in Ukraine, so let's agree that you won't be there either." But now the situation is starting to change. On one hand, Donald Trump says he is not going to defend Europe, not going to defend NATO allies. Then he changes his mind, but for Trump, that's normal. But most importantly, he says that Ukraine is a European problem and Europeans should solve it.
Ukraine may soon receive additional aircraft, Mirage 2000S from France. The relevant decisions have already been made, reports President Volodymyr Zelensky.
This demonstrates that it's not only the US providing assistance, because in Ukraine there was this impression that without American weapons nothing would happen. France says, no guys, we have Caesars, we have Mirages, we have other things too. Weapons that Ukraine is using effectively, so don't forget about them. And providing Mirages is a demonstration that we are in the game.
Experts note that Mirages are very effective weapons for shooting down the missiles that Russia is firing at Ukraine.
Because it is our pilots flying French Mirages as well as F-16S who take to the skies during a missile attack. In the air, they intercept Russian missiles and destroy them there. And Mirages play a role in this. So the Mirage is useful. It's not just a demonstration that France is with Ukraine. It's also an opportunity to better repel attacks, and in the future, possibly to organize certain operations, including on the territory of the Russian Federation.
Britain is taking on the task of helping our country with air defense. In the future, the country also plans to help with missiles and the production of interceptor drones.
Back in 2023, the German Council on Foreign Relations wrote in its report that, according to their analysis, within a window of 6 to 10 years after the end of the war in Ukraine, Russia will attack Germany. Specifically Germany, not Europe. There will be a war with Germany itself. Since then, the dates have changed, how much time Russia would need, but the idea that Russia wants to wage war with Europe has not gone away. And sometimes Europeans, when they want to emphasize their geopolitical significance, they recall this existential threat coming from Russia and say that they are even ready to train and send troops to Ukraine.
Spain and Finland have joined the PRL initiative, which allows the purchase of weapons for Ukraine from the United States using partner funds. The president of Ukraine announced this while speaking to journalists in Brussels.
Politically, it is important for Trump to say, we are not helping Ukraine, we are just selling weapons. To our NATO partners, and what they do with them, whether they give them to Ukraine or not, is their own business. It is very important that all NATO countries participate in this program, as many as possible. I understand that Hungary may be against it, but the major economies are involved. And it's not just Europe, by the way. Canada is also a participant in this program. And sometimes Canada has even paid for specific batches of weapons purchased from the US. And here there's a term for this, a win-win situation. In this case, it's a win-win-win.
Finland has also announced its contribution of 100 million euros for Ukraine. Earlier, Norway announced additional funding of $200 million. Within the framework of the PARL program, 6 NATO member countries have already financed 4 packages of defense support for Ukraine. These are the Netherlands, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Germany, and Canada.
The Balkan countries are also supporting Ukraine. Military aid is rushing to Kyiv. Planes and weapons are already on their way. Zagreb, Kosovo, and Athens are ready to arm Ukraine to the teeth. Don't miss it. Next, exclusive details about the contributions made and planned by the Balkan countries to Ukraine's victory.
Recently, Ukraine received a new substantial package of military aid from Croatia. Ukraine and Croatia have also agreed on joint weapons production. Ukrainian Defense Minister Denis Shmyhal and Croatian Defense Minister Ivan Anušić signed a joint letter of intent to deepen defense industrial cooperation. He thanked Croatia for providing 13 packages of military aid worth over 200 million euros. We expect the 14th aid package soon and the 15th by the end of this year. Also, during the meeting, we discussed joint participation in the SAVE mechanism and the possibility of including Croatia in the Pearl Initiative. We are grateful for considering this issue. Denis Shmyhal, Minister of Defense of Ukraine. Already at the beginning of next year, the countries will hold a joint industrial forum for defense product manufacturers. Of course, Croatia's greatest interest is in the production of various drones, which have already revolutionized modern warfare. The Croatian side will also assist Ukraine in the matter of demining territories. He noted Croatia's role in the work of the demining coalition. The experience of this friendly country is important for clearing our land. The Croatian company Docking has already delivered 69 demining machines and has started producing spare parts in Ukraine. Denis Shmyhal, Minister of Defense of Ukraine. Greece will soon supply Ukraine with American-made M110A2 howitzers, 150,000 units of ammunition, and Zuni rockets. This military aid, with a total value of about 199 million euros, will be delivered to Ukraine through the Czech Republic. Greece may also sell some of its fighter jets under pressure from other NATO countries. Mirage 2000.
Greece has already purchased 24 more modern Rafale fighter jets from France. Noting that technical support for the 2005 fighter jets will end in 2027, Greece is seeking to get rid of the old ones. However, negotiations with India regarding the sale of these fighter jets have reached a deadlock. And other Balkan countries have also not found any interested buyers. Greece is negotiating with France to acquire another 6 to 12 Rafale fighter jets. It is not seeking a price reduction in exchange for selling some of the Mirage 2000S.
Now Athens is negotiating with France to acquire another 6 to 12 Rafales. And they are negotiating a lower price in exchange for selling part of the fleet. The Mirage 2000s in Ukraine Currently, Greece has 25 of these aircraft in service. The United States is pressuring the country to purchase more weapon systems as part of the Priority Needs List program for Ukraine. Therefore, it is only a matter of time before Kyiv buys some of the Mirage 2000s from Athens. Even the partially recognized Republic of Kosovo is helping Ukraine. Pristina has announced a new package of military aid for Ukraine. The Balkan country is ready to help as much as it can. The details of the aid are not being disclosed. It is known that it includes mortar shells of various calibers, including 120mm, 60mm, and 81mm military trucks, armored vehicles, and tactical vehicles. We are determined to support Ukraine in every way possible, according to our conditions and capabilities. Ejub Makedonci, Minister of Defense of Kosovo. The Minister of Defense of Kosovo posted a video on social media showing the Kosovo security forces and the British Army training Ukrainian soldiers. Eastern European countries and the Balkans are actively helping Ukraine with various types of weaponry and by conducting training sessions on their territory. Such support clearly demonstrates their attitude toward the Russian world and Putin.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
Italy has not stood aside either. The country is secretly arming Ukraine, helping it fight against the aggressor. Under the label Top Secret, shipments of weapons and equipment are being prepared, and the details of the cooperation are kept under the strictest secrecy. Ukraine is receiving covert support from an ally which very few people know about. Exclusive details are coming up in the report.
It is customary not to disclose this country's assistance, but that does not mean it doesn't exist. Italy is another partner of Ukraine, helping our country in the fight against the Russian occupiers. The country has significant experience in producing air defense systems and ammunition for them. A lot of attention is now being paid to the prospects of joint production of these weapons in cooperation with our country.
It's important to understand that any European country that says we are ready to launch production facilities for manufacturing weapons is important to Ukraine, because one way or another the weapons produced by the European Union will end up in Ukraine. Because many people, not only in Ukraine, but also in Europe, in the European Union, in Ukraine, when modeling the situation, say that after Ukraine, Russia will wage war against other countries on the European continent. Accordingly, more attention needs to be paid to weapons production.
It should be noted that assistance to Ukraine is being provided against the backdrop of internal political struggle within Italy itself. In 2025, 192 deputies supported aid to our country, while 41 elected officials opposed it. Nevertheless, at the moment, the Italian government will officially be able to support Ukraine and supply weapons until December 31st, 2025.
And different parties, let's say, sometimes take opposing positions. That is, when we talk about the political life of Italy, we can recall that there was and there remains an influential politician in Italy, Salvini, who is believed, and there is apparently evidence, that he has ties to Russia. However, since the start of the full-scale war, Salvini has demonstratively provided assistance to Ukraine. That is, in principle, he has not behaved the way some clearly pro-Russian politicians in the European Union do.
According to experts, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni takes a rather tough stance.
Nevertheless, it is Meloni herself who is, at least publicly, the author of the proposal that if Russia is against Ukraine joining NATO, then let's not admit Ukraine to NATO, but simply extend NATO's Article 5 to cover Ukraine.
As of today, it is known that Italy is participating in the supply of Storm Shadow cruise missiles to Ukraine, together with the British and French governments. In addition, there have also been deliveries of armored personnel carriers, Puma, about which the government has never reported in the media or mentioned their transfer in official documents.
Nevertheless, I do not rule out that it is present, because after all, when the European Union says that helping Ukraine is a trend, Italy, as one of the leading countries of the European Union, cannot stand aside. Otherwise, it misses out on an important opportunity.
Moreover, Italy has gone even further in supporting Ukrainians and is trying to minimize the purchase of Russian energy resources.
Back in 2022, there was a report that for the first time since 1976, Italy went a whole week without purchasing gas from Russia. This, of course, is very significant. It was a major step, and Italy took it.
Italy is not as steadfast in its informational support for Ukraine as it could be. However, its actions speak to the country's position, better than any words could. Experts note that the Prime Minister of Italy also has good relations with U.S. President Donald Trump, which allows her to facilitate communication between the United States and the European Union regarding aid to Ukraine. And what do you think about Western military aid to Ukraine? We look forward to your comments. Stay tuned for more important updates. And don't forget to like the video. Wishing you peaceful skies above.